3, 2, 1.
So let me show you some stuff I picked up on a road trip to Ohio this weekend. A bunch of books, and I don't really buy books or collect them or anything, but they are handy to have. You know, some Ford stuff, which I don't usually do Ford, especially newer. I don't think I would be into it, but they're fun to look at, you know. When I got some spare time, we'll probably look through it. And I would most likely just keep some of this older stuff, you know. But if you have a 72, it's got all 3 volumes in here. Cool Buick book. I do like these old restoration books, so I'm excited to read this one. I'm not a paint guy. My friend's dad was a painter. He used to teach at the college, so I think this is a school book, but the other ones are, you know, some restoration books from the 90s. So interesting. I thought this one was cool. It's like I think it's like a dealership folder they used to have, and he must have liked it because he put these little liners on it, and then back here it's got some paint chips on it so you can look at some different colors. And I don't really want paint on my Suburban unless it's got the advertisement has some hippie stuff, so that's I just thought that was cool. I think it's from the 70s, but cool to have, you know. That's stuff that I'll keep just to have around. It's fun to look at paint chips just to get an idea. I don't even know if they still make this paint or what the deal is, but I thought that was interesting. A couple Chevy books. Obviously, I'm a little more Chevy oriented, but 39 is likely. I could maybe have a 39er truck. And then I thought this was interesting too, that the 70 to 82, which is weird because if you didn't know, 67 to 72s are mostly the same. So I thought that was interesting. It's the way they split that up. But and then he had some old plates, which are cool, and some states I definitely don't have. I don't collect plates either, and I actually sold some plates. So now I'm like, maybe I should have held on them. Maybe I could get a decent collection. But Ohio, I like this old Nebraska because my wife's from Nebraska. 34. I like these longer ones, and then a cool black and yellow 54. 67 from Texas, which is cool since my truck, my 67 C10 back here. Oregon, definitely wouldn't have one of those. And I have a Missouri one somewhere. Oh, it's on the 36 right now, I think. And then just a little cheaper. So, my friend just gave me all that, so that was cool. The main reason I was going is I needed this panel. I've been telling you I have another set of hood halves. You know, the 3100 trucks. The top of the hood latch that is a separate panel that holds everything together, and it would be very hard to make. This one's already been sandblasted. It looks decent, you know, a little pitting and stuff, but nothing too bad. Then I knew he had some other stuff. Wasn't bringing much money. I didn't expect much, but he told me he's a Ford guy, and he didn't even know what all went to the truck, which is like the best thing you ever want to hear. So I had to dig through his pile forever. So I told you my Suburban, my vent is all rusted out. This one's not amazing. I really wish he would have blasted it. Since he had a blast cabinet, he loved cleaning stuff up. But it's good enough. It tempts me to maybe want to not shave the vent and save it. So all you guys that were hating on me shaving that vent, I might end up keeping it. Also, he had another, glove box door set up. Decent, you know. Looks okay, and it's got all the stainless hubcap he threw in. Hopefully I could save it. I'm trying to use old hubcaps on my truck, so I have 2 up here that were on the Suburban, and I think that cleaned up enough. You know, my truck's not going to be super fancy, and again, I like using old parts. I don't like buying new stuff. More hood hinges, and again, he sandblasted some of these. Some of these have been sitting around. That's why even if they are sandblasted, they still got some surface rust back on them. Door hinges, which I'm kind of excited about because all my door hinges are really crusty and not moving well. And if I would have had to pay much, I wouldn't have bought any of this extra stuff, most likely. But I kind of just kept putting stuff in a box, and he wasn't really saying much. So hinges that move. One set even has new bushings in it, so even if I didn't use the hinge, I would probably just steal those bushings. Brake cylinder, rebuild kit. Again, I probably wouldn't even rebuild that. An extra steering wheel, which is nice because mine's got some cracks out the back, like some big chips out the back. More pedals, which is good. I think that's a starter pedal. an extra brake pedal, door latch regulator, already sandblasted. This grommet thing, I don't know exactly what that is for, but sandblasted. If I decide to use it, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably just run it all clean. I'm really excited about this extra dome light lid that's been sandblasted because, like I told you, I want to run an extra dome light in my Suburban farther back. This mechanism is running to your, it's your brace, and it runs to your vent window. So I have another one. I already have the one I took off that looks like it's in good shape. Another window regulator. I'm assuming it works. This is your windshield divider, a little stainless, and this is the inside. A little throttle cable. And then I picked up a little bit of some bent up door trim. I'm trying to find as much outside door trim as I can because I'm gonna need to kind of like patch things together and figure out a setup for this, for the outside for the Suburban. It's really hard to get that, so hopefully I can make some of this stuff work. And then the score that I was pretty excited about, and it's most of the way good, is this hood seam. This fills in the gap in between, and usually you see them in stainless, you know, on shows or whatever. And again, I didn't really want a brand new stainless one because it'll stand out. That way I could throw that extra hood together and maybe try to sell it, which would be nice to get some money, because it seems like no one wants that hood unless it has that panel in it. You know, little odds and ends. I can sell my stuff and keep the sandblasted stuff and just save myself some time. So good score. So basically all that I got for 50 bucks. So to me, that's good. You know, you probably sell the steering wheel and one other part and get your money back. All right, well, this is how that driver's engine mount looks. Like I showed you, I just kind of instead of like bending it up, I welded all these seams and welded on these sides to give it more strength, just because it's kind of going over a decent gap. It's also going to have a bolt going in here that is going to run into the cross member, and then one going in through the side. You can tell I just welded everything up. You know, it's all TIG, so it's whatever, but I didn't feel like grinding the inside. You're not really going to see it, so I didn't really care, but that's what it looks like. And the reason one tab is long is because it's this piece on the cross member isn't all the way over, so it's only going to have this bolt, and then the two run up into the frame right here. So throw this on. I'm not even going to drill the holes in the cross member yet until I'm going to pull that engine out. That way I can get up under there, because I have to drill the holes in the frame, and I'm probably not even going to be able to do those until I move those leaf springs out of the way. It's really hard to get up in from the bottom, so it'll be kind of in place. Once the engine's back out, I will finish the other side, but I do want all that weight sitting on it. That way it lowers the suspension. That way I can make the transmission mount. That way I can adjust the angle. So that took forever to weld. I really need to get like a water cooler for my TIG torch, because my torch gets so hot. Happy how that turned out. You know, not perfect, but like, again, for this truck, I want it strong, and looks don't super matter, but I did want it to kind of look like the crossmember belongs in there. And then the crossmember I didn't totally show you, but like I said, it's for a 4-wheel drive, like a 67, 72, probably some of the square bodies. Yeah, I think it's actually out of a square body. It fits up in there, so let me throw that in, and then I can start fabbing up the trans mount. Not proud of how long this has taken, but it's coming along. This is gonna be my tranny mount. Basically, I made this piece that bolts up. It's, like I said, it's offset. I countersunk and used those Allen heads so that it sits on the cross member flat, and then this mounts up. It's only 3/4 above the cross member. Obviously, do not use my measurements because your engine can also be sitting all over the place. But for me, it's 3/4. So like I said, I'm happy because I got to keep that stock cross member in there, which is really good because these frames are angled, so it's kind of hard to make a cross member and get them mounted up, you know. Obviously you can do it, but time is important to me. So yeah, it's gonna mount up into 3 of those holes. The mount is just a generic like GM mount. It's kind of slotted, so you got a little bit of play side to side. Like I said, this is offset 1.5 inches, so it's over just a little. That's why the mount looks a little funny. But happy to keep that nice strength in there. Happy to be able to keep the clutch fork setup still going. Obviously, I'm going to have to work on whatever linkage is going to push that back and forth. You know, I might have to extend that arm underneath just to get a little more travel. We'll see. One thing, if you guys are aware, somebody let me know, what's up with this speedo cable setup? I don't know why it's weird looking like that. I don't know if it's maybe adjustable is my thought. You know, maybe in the 80s they figured out it's adjustable instead of changing out the little gear in there. But happy. I wish I had the seat in, because this is the shifter arm that was with this tranny. And like I said, I'm kind of like all the cheesy chrome that's been going on. So if I can keep this set up and just switch the shifter knob to something cooler. It does come a little far out, and the bend is a little weird compared to, you know, earlier on they kind of had straighter arms usually. One thing I am a little worried about, like I said, don't use my measurements, but this is up a little bit, so I'm a little worried about the clearance between the drive shaft and the floor. But also back there is if you look up above, there's another cross member, and I'm hoping that the drive shaft doesn't interfere with that, because I really don't want to have to kind of notch that out or get rid of that, because it's actually the cross member right in here. So baby steps. At least I got the engine off the floor and out of the way a little bit. If you're going automatic, I'm sure you got some issues too. I really wanted to keep those brake and clutch pedals right where they were. I'm also on the fence if any of you guys have tried to set up a booster and master cylinder right here. I'm curious what you do, because it seems like the master cylinders is going to start getting really close to this cross member. And also you're going to have to notch out a bunch to even get a booster to sit up in there at all, you know. And they got to be such a small booster that I really wanted power brakes, especially if I'm towing a trailer. But if I just set up a manual brake setup, you know, obviously a dual master, but a manual setup, it'd be way easier. But I'm on the fence. If you guys have set that up and used the stock pedals, let me know. Or if you guys can send me some pictures, that'd be great. But I'm gonna do some more research on that. Obviously, I'm not there. The other thing is, obviously, that speedo cable shoots right into wherever that booster master setup is. So trust me, not complaining about space, because for one, I don't even have to run dual exhaust on this. I can just run a single exhaust. I got space there. Things are coming along. It's just that this engine, instead of a 235 or a 216, is a little bit of a hassle to get in there. Also, I was kind of having trouble. I just started putting some of the sheet metal on up here. You can tell it's kind of, this setup's been mangled a little bit. So I don't know if that's why things aren't matching up, but I had to like pull this back really tight to get it to here. And now it's like pulling the firewall kind of into the engine. So I'm going to have to get a little creative getting all this to fit. Obviously later I'm going to have to get a electric fan, and I'm always a fan of putting it on the front side. But I think this time, because I want to put a AC condenser up here, I'll probably run a fan and maybe a shroud on the back side. You know, I have some space, but with how offset the engine is, that fan in there gets really close, and I don't think I want to deal with that. I think I'd rather run the electric fan, deal with it. It could turn on and off on the AC cycles. I'd have that condenser, because if you put a condenser and a fan on the outside, I feel like your radiator's not going to cool that great. You know, you'll be cooling the condenser, but it's got a lot of walls of turbulent air before it gets in, cools your engine. And these probably run cool because they're not running too hot, too high revs or anything. But a little side project I worked on is, if you saw, I had a giant sheet of 1/8 inch sitting over here, which has been in the way. And like I said, I need to start working on the 67 again. So I cut it into a bunch of pieces. It already had a bunch of like torch holes in it. So the one thing that I was contemplating, because it is a big sheet, is I cut this. This would be the floor that sits underneath your seats. And obviously I know usually, you know, it's probably like 16 gauge or 18 gauge. And it's got, you know, bead rolls and different things in it to give it structure. Well, I don't have a bead roller, so I've seen other guys do it. You know, they use the thicker metal. So I'm like, maybe I'll do the 1/8 inch underneath the seat But mainly I wanted to cut it to the right size. That way I didn't cut it and regret it later. So I'd rather I have it if I decide I am gonna use that under the seats, and then I have these like filler patch panels behind it, and they've been cut on and modified a little bit, but it's got your setup for filling your master cylinder, and it's got your setup for your battery. So I plan on using those, and I might just weld those to this piece, you know, just spot welded across, and then use seam sealer and everything. But I think that'd be an easy way. That way I don't have to use a bunch of my 18 gauge sheet that's coming. And strength wise, I would just like something on the truck to be solid. So you know, if that area is solid and then the rest is connected, at least there's like a strong center. The rest, you know, is plywood behind it, and you know, it sits on it kind of like a wood bed floor. So I just want something strong on this truck, you know. So slowly taking shape. You know, I'm happy about it. The one thing I'm wondering what's gonna go on is it still seems just a touch tall in the back, and like I told you, I lifted these rear fenders up 1.5 inches. So that means that running board's gonna be tilted up so it matches. And it might look a little different in here, but I'm gonna mess with the contour of that whenever I do that filler panel. I might have to mess with the bottom edge of that door too. So not a big deal, but maybe the back of the truck might have to come down just a touch. You know, it just looks so giant. Especially, it's nice throwing that front clip stuff on, because it just gives you a better perspective of the size of this beast. You know, some of these are long and a lot more talking, but I kind of want some of you guys that haven't built much, or even you guys that have built a lot, to kind of hear like some of my rationale on why I'm doing certain things, and just sometimes it's fun to just hear people's perspective, and just instead of just watching them, you know, weld a piece of crap together. So obviously things have been changing. So a guy came over, he was gonna buy the gauges I rebuilt for this. I was trying to free up some money, but of course he came over with some parts I needed. So I just ended up trading them for this bumper, and then these yellow inner fenders, because my passenger one was trash. So I slowly putting fenders and things on just to get the feel. This fender seems way better, even though it sounds a little Bondo-y when you move it around. Threw that front bumper on. This is the kind of bumper I wanted. Chrome, but used. It kind of matches the lights in the rear. These inner fenders I have, someone had told me that I had the wrong one, but I didn't really know. So you can tell the yellow one in the front, it's got little holes. They go to that splash guard. This one doesn't. This one also has some holes above it. I'm pretty sure this is either for a GMC or a 54. They have a different grill set up, and I don't know if that bolts to the grill or what. But besides that, the only other thing that I see on both sides of the fender, on the yellow ones, it bulges out right here. I don't even know what goes there. And this one is not perfect back here. It's more beat up in here, but the back looks a little better. This one, you can tell that it's got that big wrinkle back there. And I was telling you, I was having issues with it. It didn't seem stretched. It wasn't stretched far enough out. So you can tell this one kind of goes out the way it should be. So what I'm gonna do is, once I get that in place, I'll hammer and dolly that. I kind of need to know exactly where the steering box sits and the pedals sit, and make sure that nothing's gonna hit. The other thing that sucks about fitting everything up to this fender is, for one, I'm not sure if this little cutout is all the same on the 54, 55s. I know this little light thing is wrong. I'm not totally sure about it yet. So what I think I'm gonna do is pull this fender back off, get my inner fenders bolted up so I can kind of see the depth. And I think I might even throw the hood on pretty soon and try to get that distance. I think how I'm gonna have to do it is, I think I'm gonna have to put the hood on, get all that mounted and positioned, and then put that fender close, obviously pull all that off and mount that up at the same time. It kind of sucks when it's this far gone. You know, you kind of got to make things up. And it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm not super sweating it, but I do want it nice. This one is nice. Both these aren't as caked with crap as the other ones, so it's nice. The guy that had these, he got the truck from South Dakota, so I think some of his parts are a little nicer. I need to get all this to line up, bolt that in, because right now I'm having issues getting these bolts in. So I don't know how people do this whenever they're painted, because it almost seems like I need to bolt these in and then slide this all in at once and run those bolts in, but nothing's lining up. I think there's just going to be tons of fine tuning to get all this to work right. The same with this side. Everything's gone over here. I don't even know how it mounts, because on this it's got some holes in the inner fender, but I don't have any holes in this section, so it must come out enough. That must have been where the old holes were, because it's original firewall, but it must scoot over even farther, which will give me a little more clearance. And I don't know where it's supposed to sit, like how much of the frame it's supposed to cover, or if it butts right up to the edge. But I also had to go get a smaller oil filter, because the first one that was on here is about 5 inches long, and it was hitting the inner fender, so the next one's 3 inches. AC gets a little close, and there's those little indentions that I was talking about. I'm happy I didn't have to recess that or notch that out at all, but this is gonna be a slow process, I'm sure, getting all this on and getting those patches on. And what's even more annoying is I really didn't mean to get into this. I just kind of was bored and started putting things on, and now I'm curious. All you guys that have done this before, man, I don't know how you do that when it's painted. I don't know. It just is, unless you just had to, everything on my truck might just be really, really bent out of shape. But I really wonder how you get all that in without scratching every single panel. And I've heard it's horrible to do these. And there's like rods to line things up and stuff. And so I'm like, I don't know how you get all that bolted in without scratching the whole truck up. Also, I guess I didn't show you. I got these shrinker stretchers, just some Harbor Freight ones, to make the wheel wells for the back. And just, I had this 17-inch artillery, so I just, and I had this pole that was already, had the top welded onto it, so I just welded a piece on the bottom. So a little stand, you know, move it out of the way, and obviously whenever I'm using one, I'll pull the other one off so it's not in the way. But shrinker stretcher. That's the update on the truck. It's Friday. I need to think about all this over the weekend. Think about my life choices. So thanks for watching. Later.